Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this video we'll be covering how to progress different strength and conditioning qualities over time for athletic performance. First, we need to go through the trainable qualities so that we understand how to progress them over time. There are 5 primary trainable qualities that we will cover in this video. These are linear speed, which refers to unloaded sprinting in a straight line; resisted sprints, which refers to any sprint training methods using some form of external resistance; plyometrics, this refers to exercises involving a high reliance on the stretch shortening cycle; power, this refers to moving external load in a ballistic manner; and maximum strength, this refers to lifting heavy loads with the goal of improving force output. Before covering the details of how to progress each quality, we first need to understand the concept of periodization to know when to progress each quality. Periodization essentially refers to the manipulation of training variables over time to reach peak performance at a specific time of the year. So training methods should be progressed in a way that allows peak performance for a specific competition or when the athlete needs to perform at their best. To do this, we need to employ the most specific training methods closer to this time to peak, and more general training methods further from this time. Therefore, each training quality will be progressed from more general to most specific. We can now cover each training quality and how these can be progressed over time. For linear speed, we want to progress from shorter distances to longer distances over time, while ensuring that intent is always maximal. There are 2 primary reasons we want to progress from shorter to longer distances. The first reason is that only longer distances allow max speeds to be reached, while shorter distances only allow acceleration ability to be emphasized. Longer distance sprints involve both acceleration ability and maximum velocity ability. This means that longer distances will likely have greater transfer to athletic performance than shorter distances. The second reason is for injury risk reduction. Longer distance sprints place more stress on the muscles and tissues involved since faster speeds are being reached. If an athlete immediately begins to sprint at top speed, they are more likely to get injured. Implementing shorter distances first can gradually acclimate the athlete to the demands of max velocity sprinting. As a practical example, sprint training can be progressed in the following way. First, shorter distances of 10 to 20 meters can be implemented for 4 to 6 weeks. Then moderate distances of around 25 to 40 meters can be implemented for another 4 to 6 weeks. And finally, distances of 45 to 60 meters can be included where the athlete will be reaching maximum speeds. Next, we will cover how to progress resisted sprints over time. Essentially, we want to progress resisted sprints from heavy loads with shorter distances to lighter loads with longer distances. The reason we want these 2 variables to progress in such a way is to allow faster velocities to be reached over time. If we use heavier loads, the athlete will not be able to run very fast, and if we limit the distance they can run, they will again not be able to reach very fast speeds. If we use lighter loads, the athlete can run faster, and if we increase the distances they run, the athlete will have more time to reach faster speeds. Resisted sprints could be progressed in the following way as an example. First, a sled pull could be used with a heavy load for distances of 10 to 15 meters for 4 to 6 weeks. Then, sled pulls can again be used with a moderate load for slightly longer distances of 15 to 20 meters for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Then finally, lighter load sled pulls can be implemented with distances of 20 to 25 meters. Next, we have plyometric training. Plyometrics should be progressed from exercises with longer ground contact times to exercises with shorter ground contact times. Longer contact times will allow higher forces to be produced, but they will be produced at a slower rate. Faster contact times will force the athlete to produce as much force as possible in the fastest time possible. We generally want athletes to be able to produce force in minimal time, as this is what is required during athletic tasks, such as sprinting and jumping. There are 2 primary ways we can achieve this progression. The first is through manipulating exercises. Different plyometric exercises naturally involve faster or slower contact times, meaning that we can simply alter the exercises over time to achieve this progression. The second method is to add and remove external load. Athletes can perform plyometric training using small external loads such as weight vests or by holding medicine balls or dumbbells. By adding load to a plyometric exercise, the ground contact times will increase and the force production will also increase. By removing any external load, this will allow faster contact times. As a practical example of how this may be progressed over time could look something like this. First, we have used a depth jump with additional load. This will involve much longer ground contact times than most athletic tasks, but will also build a foundation of force production. Next, we have implemented weighted pogo hops. Pogo hops will have much shorter contact times than the depth jump, but since we are using additional load, the contact times will not be as short as possible. And lastly, unloaded bounds have been implemented, as this will involve the shortest contact times and have the most transfer to athletic performance. Next, we will explore how to progress power training. Power training should be progressed from heavier loads with slower velocities to lighter loads with faster velocities. This is a similar concept to the plyometric training progression, where heavier loads will involve higher force output but slower movement velocity. Lighter loads will require force to be produced faster, although absolute force output won't be as high. We want to progress from heavy loads to lighter loads once again, as athletic tasks generally involve force to be produced quickly rather than slowly, so lighter loads are more specific to performance. The primary variable we can manipulate to achieve this progression is loading. We can implement an exercise and start with a heavier load, then we can gradually reduce the load over time with the same exercise to increase movement velocity. This may practically look something like this. Let's use a squat jump for this example, since the load can easily be changed. We start with 3 sets of 3 reps with a heavy load, then we maintain the same set and rep scheme while reducing to a moderate load. Finally, a light load is used with the same 3 sets of 3 reps. This progression will naturally allow higher jump height and faster velocities as load is reduced. And the last quality we will cover is maximum strength. For max strength, we want to progress from lighter loads further from the athlete's peak to heavier loads closer to the athlete's peak. Lighter loads will allow higher repetitions to be used, which is best for structural adaptations, while heavier loads will involve lower reps, which allows higher force outputs. This is beneficial for athletes, since ultimately maximal force output will have the highest transfer to performance. So the primary variable we will manipulate is load. We can use a lighter load initially, and then progress to heavier and heavier loads over time. Here is a practical example of how this may look. We've implemented the back squat as an example exercise. First, a lighter load is used, which should allow this athlete to perform around 6 to 8 reps. So for this athlete, a load of 100 kilos has been selected. After using this load for around 4 to 6 weeks, a heavier load can be used of 110 kilos. This will allow the athlete to perform the back squat in the rep range of around 4 to 6. Finally, the load can increase once again to 120 kilos, which will allow the athlete to lift in the 1 to 3 rep range. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already.